5, 4, 3,
2,
1. But who's counting, right?
And his name is Major.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen,
please welcome Major Garrett.
From the nation's capital.
Major, fantastic.
It's The Takeout.
This is a major achievement.
With CBS News Chief Washington Correspondent,
Major Garrett, yes, CBS, yes, hi.
Major Garrett.
Major, that's nonsense, and you should know better.
Is Major out of the doghouse?
The answer is yes.
Welcome to the very best part of my broadcast week, and I really super mean it this week. New York City is where we are. It's April 12th. It's a phenomenal day in New York City. It's like one of the first great spring days this year in New York City. And I could not be happier to have at the Takeout microphones and table Roy Wood Jr. Roy, it's great to see you. Thanks for hanging out. I'm good, man. How are you?
I appreciate you for having me.
Oh, man. It's
You're
great
right.
to see you.
It's that, like, we've been in, like, winter denial, like spring denial. Like, no, there still might be a snowstorm. I'm packing my
There's
coat
a sucker
again.
punch in there somewhere, yeah.
I'm waiting on it, bro.
When I was walking around before we sat down, people were walking out of their office buildings, like, looking up at the sun, like, it feels great. It feels
Is it
great.
for real? Is it for true, Father? Is spring here? I still think there's a snowstorm waiting. One of those April storms.
Okay.
I hate to be a Debbie Downer. But
Okay.
yeah.
We are at a place called Monterey Brasserie. If we were going to lean into the Monterey, we would, but there's only one R, not two, so it's Monterey Brasserie. 50th between Madison and Park. It's a very nice part of New York. Really, really nice. Lots of designer stores, names I can't pronounce, or if I worked really hard at it, I probably could pronounce. For my taste, not enough smoke shops or hot dog vendors on the street. Not that I use them every day, but I just like knowing they're there.
Yeah, this is a nice spot. This is what, like, you can tell these are the people who got out of Bitcoin right on time. Like, they timed it perfectly.
Very good timing, very good timing. That's why they're smiling.
Yeah.
They are smiling and enjoying a very nice lunch. So Roy will be the featured comedian at the White House Correspondents Dinner later this month. One of the many reasons we're having him on the show. He's been on the show before. That was Zoom back in the COVID lockdown period 2 years ago.
Yes.
Are you excited about that gig?
Yeah, excited, and then just a little bit, horrified isn't the right word, but
Nervous.
It's an opportunity. Nerves is nothing new as a comic.
Right.
I think fear is a good thing.
Yep.
If you're not scared, then that means you're not taking it seriously. That means you're not going to prepare properly. I think fear is an important part of the process of performance and preparation. But
All
once you get on
performance,
the day, it is either you're ready or you're not, dummy. Did you prepare? All right, then go do your thing.
Then go do your thing.
To do.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of understood with the Correspondents Dinner that part of the room isn't going to like a joke.
Right.
And then it's going to oscillate.
Right.
And it's going to be a constant back and forth. I just look at it as an opportunity as a citizen.
Yeah.
To be able to say something to the elected officials.
Right. And know the president will be right next to you at
Yes,
the podium.
absolutely.
You
Yes,
gonna make fun of the president?
I don't know. I need to see some footage on Biden. I heard he can still throw a punch. That boy got a jab. So, I don't know. But, yeah, I think to be able to say those things right there to the people is a beautiful thing.
So I was, at one time, not only a White House correspondent, but on the board of the Correspondents Association, so knew something about the conversation about who the talent would be each and every year. And it was described to me that a lot of comedians are not super enthusiastic about the gig because it's a hard room, number one.
Yeah.
It has to be new material because it's a hard room, so it's like a one-show thing. It's not part of your normal routine. And the Correspondents Association is really about providing scholarships to collegiate journalists. It's not about paying comedians, so...
And let me add another hurdle.
Yeah.
As a comedian, you have to cook fresh on the day. You probably got 2-3 weeks worth of runway for most topics.
Right.
But now, because of technology and camera phones and internet, I don't have a lot of safe spaces to run this material in quiet. Comedy is the only genre of entertainment where it's, to a degree, it is prepared in front of the consumer. So wherever club I go to work this material, I have the potential of some of that stuff. Same thing happened with Chris Rock the night before his live Netflix special. Half the Will Smith material was out on the internet. And they had made people lock their phones and put them in bags at all the Chris. And they had made people lock their phones and like put all the Chris Rock material like. And they had made people lock their phones and they put the phones in bags.
Yeah.
And people remembered it and then went on the internet and tweeted it out.
Right.
So it's like you cannot figure. I don't know who's going to leak what. So I almost have to do decoy material.
Right.
So, yeah,
Decoy material at the clubs.
Yes.
And
oh, come on, you want to stop down real quick?
no, we're good.
Okay,
We're good. Decoy material at the clubs, but also workshop it with just your tight group of friends. And do you have co-writers? Do you have people who will help you out on this?
I hired a couple of writers, some people from The Daily Show, some people who used to be at The Daily Show, and friends that I trust who know my comedic style.
Right.
So you just start putting the pieces together. I think the important thing, you just have to figure out what you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a bigger point you want to make? Okay,
right.
And then now how do you make that point funny?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, my job is to be funny.
Right, no doubt.
It's going to be plenty of poignant people up there going, oh, yes, and always remember media, and together, and unity, and bipartisanship.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you need to cut through that.
I need to cut through that.
Yeah.
I just need to be funny.
Right.
But I've never seen anybody.
But also perhaps tell some of the people in that room who are fighting over silly S to stop fighting over the silly S.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. I think, though, it's an opportunity if you do it right as a comedian to reach the voters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much you'll reach the politicians. I don't think any politician has seen a correspondence performance and the next day became bipartisan or the next day changed what they were thinking about something. But
if you reach the voters, there could be a feedback loop.
Possibly so.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to act like there's some magic bullet joke that's going to change the state of democracy. No. I think any comedian who thinks they're in possession of that joke is a liar and they are delusional.
Yes. Needs more therapy.
At the end of the day, my comedy has been to try and change the way you look at something.
Yep.
I might not be able to change the way you think, but let me give you another angle at how to look at this.
No doubt.
So that's what I'm going to try to do. And, sink or swim, I'm going to go out and have a good time after it and act like it never happened if it's so.
Did you ever watch President Obama give his remarks at this dinner?
Yeah, Obama's funny.
I mean, he's really good.
Obama's funny. Biden was funny last year in front of Trevor Noah.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of, matter of fact, as it was told to me by one of the writers for last year with Trevor, Biden touched on a couple things like that Trevor was going to touch on. So he was like crossing out bits.
And I know for a fact, because I covered the Obama White House, he leaned into that event. He really cared about that, worked hard, and has a better than average comedic timing. Obama
could do an hour of stand-up right now. At minimum, he could do a storytelling show on Broadway. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say the man is Cat Williams and he's just got all the energy in the world, but he's charismatic enough to where I could appreciate a punchline from him.
Yeah.
I think he's funny. You know who I bet is funny if they would just unbutton their shirt every now and then? I bet you Al Gore's hilarious.
So
I can't prove it, but he just looks like he got some good food jokes in him. Like he just and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way.
No. I heard that. Having covered him in the Senate when he was a senator before he became vice president, I won't say he was a humorless senator, but he was close to a humorless senator.
That's disappointing.
So maybe he's funny in the elevators or the subway or someplace else. Not funny at the dais, not funny on the Senate floor, not funny in the corridors, but maybe elsewhere.
You know what, that makes sense because he's all about climate change. None of them climate change people are hilarious. They fighting for what's right, but they ain't funny.
Right.
Leo DiCaprio's not funny.
No, but
Greta Thunberg's not funny. She's good job. What you're doing, but I ain't seen you crack a joke yet.
Very on it, but not funny.
You're right.
Might be more
George
successful.
Clooney's kind of funny though. Clooney's all about the environment. Clooney's got chops.
Clooney occupies a very special place. I think we would all agree. When we come back on the other side of this break with Roy Wood Jr., we're going to talk not only about the upcoming White House Correspondents Dinner, but about his fantastic, that's my word, and I'm going to use it again and again, fantastic run as a substitute host on The Daily Show.
Thank you, brother.
It was great to see you there. They've had a great set of folks stepping in, stepping out, but I think you set the highest mark. I will just say that on my behalf. You don't need to say anything other than thank you, Major.
Thank you, Major.
I'm Major Garrett. We're at Monterey Brasserie in Midtown Manhattan. It's April 12th. It's a glorious spring day in New York, and I'm having a great time. Back for segment 2 in just 1 second.
So it's 2 columns. Here are the stories everyone's talking about. here are the stories people should be talking about.
Right.
And then you just go through them and figure out what's the funniest, what stuff attaches to what.
From CBS News, this is The Takeout with Major Garrett.
Welcome back to The Takeout. Roy Wood Jr. is our guest. Could not be happier to have him at the Takeout table. So you did the Daily Show for a week. How was that?
That was fun. That was fun.
Is it harder for a week as compared to a longer period of time, in that you got 4 shows basically?
I think hosting on a regular basis, I don't think you can simulate that even in a week. Because being locked in, the thing that I was not prepared for, that I've never experienced as a correspondent, is being fully and wholly present from 9 a.m. until 7 when they take that microphone off of you. And I probably replied to 2 emails a day, maybe 4 text messages a day. Like, just the idea of every word, every syllable, you want it to be right. You want it to be timed right. You want to be able to be saying something.
And for my audience who doesn't know anything about this, or probably doesn't know as much as they would like to know about it, walk them through that day, that 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. What does that look like?
You get 9 a.m. and you sit with the producers and the writers, and you decide, to a degree, it's no different than regular news. What's the news today?
What's the news?
And to me,
What's
it's
in
2
the rundown?
columns.
Yeah.
Literally, it's a rundown. So it's 2 columns. Here are the stories everyone's talking about. Here are the stories people should be talking about.
Right.
And then you just go through them and figure out what's the funniest, what stuff attaches to what. You know, a great example would be during my week, the Trump indictment came down on Monday. So a lot of that was about the fact that it's happening. He's going to turn himself in on Tuesday. Then on Tuesday, we had a full 24-hour news cycle to kind of unpack.
Oh, yeah.
And it was less about Trump and more about how everybody else was spinning it and how the media overcovered the hours. Here's the door that he's coming through, and
there's a courtroom with many doors.
Yes. And through that door, people go, and through that door, other people go, and through this door is for the judge. And so there's jokes in that.
Right.
And then just as the day evolves, we assign the stories. From 10 to 12, writers write. From 12 to 1, we look over the scripts, make the final tweaks with the producers on what the writers created. 2 o'clock, you get an hour to kind of defrag, have lunch.
Right.
3 o'clock rehearsal. We go from rehearsal straight to rewrite. We shoot the show at 6 o'clock.
Bang.
Sometimes 6:30. 6 o'clock, we're done at 7.
Right. Amazing.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Wash, rinse, repeat. And look, this is evident to anyone who watched last week. The audience digs you. They stood for you. Jordan said, hey, this guy to own it, and the audience went nuts. They love you.
It was very kind of people, you know, to have worked at The Daily Show for the last 7 years. It'll be 8 in September. To have people kind of appreciate what you've tried to contribute. You know, at the end of the day, you know, a very wise man told me that, you know, you don't really have a job. Your job is leased. You're leasing.
Yep, no doubt.
Job. I think it was Doug Herzog said that to me.
Now look, this is not the same, not remotely the same, but I have been fortunate enough at times to substitute anchor the CBS Evening News.
Oh, it's the
so
same.
that's holding the chair. That's holding the whole show.
Yeah.
Different than being a correspondent, being in one slot for a 2.5 minute segment. And you think differently, you orient yourself differently, your whole mind space is different. And you feel like you are, this is the way I feel, I'm holding everyone's work that day. So I'm not holding my work, I'm holding their work.
That's fair.
And you feel that way with the writers? You want to respect what they're doing? You want to honor what they're doing?
But I'm also carrying the difference, the biggest difference between a Daily Show correspondent and the host is that the host has the responsibility of carrying the emotion and gravity of an issue.
Right.
So the correspondent can come on and be as silly and as wild as they want and go, bye-bye. Whereas if it's something serious that's happened that day, you have to be able to funnel that emotion and be able to let people know, I know what you're feeling. And sometimes that's not going to be funny. There's not going to be a punchline in that chunk. God bless D.L. Hughley. He came on the week that the Memphis Police Department released the Tyree Nichols video.
Right.
His first day, Monday.
Right. Whoa.
First day guest hosting a show you've never done anything with. Oh, by the way, the police killed a black man. Handle that.
Yeah.
And, he was wise enough to lean into the gravity.
Beat on him.
And be in the moment of that. He had on attorney Ben Crump, who was working with Tyrese Nichols' family that day. Like, it was the perfect thing, but you have to have an inherent care and concern about the stories you're doing, which D.L. Hughley did, which every host has to have for any show. Because
for any show,
we sit and we crack jokes, but I came on. My week was 2 to 3 days after the Nashville shooting that happened at the school. So by Thursday, they were starting to kick members of the state representatives. They were kicking state reps out there, expelling them at the House. So that story, and that's where it gets tricky with The Daily Show, is that 3 o'clock, we're already in rehearsal, scripts a lot. We come out of rehearsal, and the news is now expulsion.
Right.
Well, the story has a different tone. So the jokes we wrote about possible expulsion at 10 a.m., can't do those anymore.
Right.
Because the expulsion has happened, and now what is the ramifications of this? And there's serious ramifications. So now if I take these the 10 a.m. jokes on a story that has evolved at 4 p.m., now I seem insensitive. Now I seem disrespectful to the people of Tennessee. So you have to tweak that. You have to move that. Sometimes stories get scrapped altogether because our job is different from the media. And this is where, people love to go, oh, The Daily Show is journalism. Okay-ish, but I don't have to do breaking news.
No.
Y'all got to do it.
Yep.
When he's expelled, you got to have something to say at 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
I can sit back and unpack it, figure out the whys, who to blame, why is this happening, what are the ramifications, and have well-peppered jokes within that, but I don't have to do that on the day.
Right.
I know people want that because people want to salve, but when you're joking adjacent to tragedy, you got to be surgical precise, bro.
Yep.
You can't just say what you want to say just for the sake of a joke that's not thought out in terms of what are the ripple effects of that bit going to be.
And we talked about this 2 years ago, that pain and humor live very close to one another. They just do.
And you have a country that's
in a lot of pain right now. You feel that?
And just when you think we're past it, a new trauma hits you. Oh, Nashville happened, and okay, let's figure it out by partisanship and expel the state rep. Oh, they're going to let the state rep back in. Louisville.
Bang.
And now we're right back where we were.
We're right back. Yeah.
So it's like that part of it, you have to always be prepared to talk about and address, And we're also, I think to a degree, where social media has helped people but probably hurt comedy.
Walk me through that.
National grieving is more communal because of social media. So if someone is dealing with something in a particular part of the country, everybody feels that. It's not like 01, 02, or did you hear about the thing over there? Oh, that's messed up. Anyway, back to my life, whereas now social media gives you the ability to see video. They show surveillance video the day after some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And that affects the entire country. So you have more people that are in a state of mourning and sadness. And
so trauma is no longer localized.
But it's my job to make the nation laugh. And if the whole nation is sad, that changes your angle of attack. Versus, hey, everybody, let me tell you about this sad thing that happened over there. It's, let's all talk about the sad thing that happened. Because location doesn't matter anymore. Because now we know, regardless of the tragedy, and this just isn't mass shooting specific, regardless of the tragedy, it could happen here. The early days of COVID when bodies were outside in freezer trucks. That's communal. That's communal pain.
And everyone in America saw the tents set up in temporary morgues in Central Park here in New York City.
Correct. So somewhere in there you have to find a joke. I think the joke is into the causation of the trauma or the solution to the trauma. But you don't have to joke on the actual thing. And I think that's the hard part of comedy now. but comedy is supposed to evolve. It has always evolved.
Right.
So it has to reflect the times we're in. I just think comedians have to change up.
When we come back for segment 3 with Roy Wood Jr., we're going to talk about that evolution of comedy. There is a conversation going on about comedy feels restricted. It's what can you do, what can you not do? We're going to talk about that. I'm Major Garrett, Roy Wood Jr., Monterey Brasserie in Midtown Manhattan is our location. Back in a minute.
I run a company, and you coming on my property saying stuff that's making the customers mad. You're bad for business. You got to go.
From CBS News, this is The Takeout with Major Garrett.
Welcome back to The Takeout. I'm Major Garrett. No stage makeup is involved in this program. Roy Wood Jr. is with us here in Midtown Manhattan. It's great to see you. So, you know this conversation. Maybe it's a grumpy old man conversation. People are like, oh, you can't joke about the same things we used to joke about. Where do you come down on that?
You can joke about whatever you want to joke about.
Oh, you'll get canceled if you do things that were funny in the 70s.
Canceled how? Like, show me the comedian without audience. Mm-hmm. Show me the canceled comedian who is not still working and has people paying money to come and see them. Mm-hmm. Okay, you might not be able to work in certain capacities in certain circles, and the TV show fired you because they didn't want you to say the thing. That's not cancel culture. That's capitalism. Mm-hmm. I run a
company. That's the market deciding.
I run a company, and you coming on my property saying stuff that's making the customers mad. Mm-hmm. You're bad for business. You got to go. You can't expect any corporation to stand tall on morals and principles. Corporations have no principles other than dollars. Mm-hmm. So say what you want, but don't say it here.
Always will be.
Exactly. So if you're crying that some company won't let you say the thing, go start your own company.
Right. Yeah.
Good for Trump.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, I'm going to do Truth Social. That's what you should do. Mm-hmm. If you're mad at Twitter or you're mad at whatever other place, create your own soapbox.
Right.
But
as we are talking on April 12th, NPR, National Public Radio, has just quit Twitter because Twitter described it as state-influenced or state-run or state-sponsored media. And they're like, no, we're not, so we're gone.
Yeah.
Go, leave. Ain't nobody keeping you here.
And we will be perfectly fine. And I think eventually the smoke and mirror in Twitter is going to be revealed on just how little influence they have on how people get information. It's a great place to have conversations, but those town halls existed before Twitter, and it'll just evolve. I do not subscribe to the idea that I believe that there are a lot of comedians who want freedom of speech without freedom of consequence. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be consequence now because you have marginalized groups that are going, hey, that's BS, and if you keep rocking with that particular comedian, we are going to figure out a way to attack your bottom line. Mm-hmm. And then there's also corporations that stand tall in that. You know, for everything that happened with Dave Chappelle and the trans community, Netflix never budged on him. They re-signed him, gave him more money. Mm-hmm. So corporations also have a right to make that decision too. Right. The best you can do is either watch the comedian or don't, go to a show or don't. Mm-hmm. Everything beyond that, the comedian has to be prepared for. If I'm doing the White House Correspondents Dinner, I can get up there and say wholeheartedly whatever the hell I want to say. Mm-hmm. I have to respect the fact that if I say something that ticks off a couple of people that are in charge of things that I want access to, those people may not give me access.
Right.
And I can be sad, and I can be, well, 20 years ago, you would have let that slide. Why are you being mean now? Because you're bad for business.
Right, yeah. It's business.
They're making this business, as my Uncle Derek would say, from Mississippi.
Yeah.
You talk crazy you want, boy, that's bad for business. Anything bad for business, they're going to get rid of. Mm-hmm. So this idea of trying to make society what it was. Mm-hmm.
We've never been that way.
Yeah.
That's one of the, I think, genius aspects of this country and this experiment.
There's certain
We are constantly reinventing and reimagining and evolving this thing.
There's certain places I won't go.
What do you mean?
Topic-wise, just my own personal code. Everybody has a code of stuff they will and won't joke about. But
examples.
If comedians disabled, pretty much anything anything bullying or that I perceive as bullying marginalized groups.
Picking on people, yeah.
But picking on is a very gray area that's very perception-based. So my perception could be, I'm not picking on you, and somebody else will go, I didn't like it. Our bars might be at different places, but a lot of my stuff is rooted in the fact that I got picked on a lot growing up. So my stuff is rooted in my own traumas and stuff. So, but I'm not going to tell somebody that they can't say a thing. But it is unrealistic to get on somebody else's network that they're paying to get on the air and believe that you get to just plant a flag in the sand and say whatever the hell you want to say without consequence. There's no morality from corporations, good or bad. It's all fiscal. I think that's something I wish more people understood about cancel culture, is that it's not – comedians are no different than liberals in the sense that they want a company to behave a certain way.
Not going to happen.
If it's not profitable, it's not going to happen.
Exactly. So I know you're a fan of the show. Last week we had Dave Stasson on and Jay Ellis.
Oh, love Jay Ellis.
We talked about
like
history
Dave
of the
too,
role.
but Jay I know, not because he's black.
Right.
All right, probably a little bit because he's black. But also Dave good, yes.
We were talking about History of the World Part 2,
Yes,
the Hulu
yes.
series. And we had the same conversation. They had their take on it, and I said, let me ask it from another perspective, because I'm a huge fan of Mel Brooks, huge fan of History of the World Part 1. I said, but in History of the World Part 2, you took your comedy outside the Western canon, if you will. Are there parts of our commonality now and marginalized communities who are part of the conversation in which you can find comedy and things have gotten more available as opposed to less available? They both came down on more available. There's more things to joke about, more things to talk about, and they worked it into the Hulu miniseries.
I do think that part of that, especially when you talk about Mel Brooks, or who I also grew up on, the Zucker brothers, you know, the Airplanes, and, you know, and even like the Naked Gun series and all of that stuff. So much humor is rooted in a group being able to laugh at themselves. And I think when we talk about including other people into a conversation, there has to be a little bit of concession in being able to laugh at yourself. I think that's an important part of the unification of comedy.
Part of what comes with it is you're at the table. And you're at the table, guess what? You have to check yourself a little bit.
You got to take a jab because everybody's getting jabbed, and that's part of it. But I think the issue is that a lot of marginalized communities that are now starting to come to the table, this is fresh. The wounds are fresh. The hurt is fresh. The hate outside their door is real. So a joke about them now in this society, it's hard to connect the link back to whoever the crazy person is that does the crazy thing, and they say, yes, absolutely, I did it because of the joke that I heard. But comedians have to also acknowledge that it could contribute, but I think at the end of the day, humor is about being able to laugh at yourself. That's part of it.
I watched
the severity of it and how intense you can make the joke. How you season it for taste is where the debate lies, but I don't think any one group can come to the table more holier than the next group going, I can joke about y'all, but you can't joke about me.
Right. I watched one of your specials, and you opened with a set of jokes about the national anthem and protests. What's wrong with the anthem?
I find it odd that we just have to sing the anthem at fun events. It's like, before we have fun, let's remember how great America is.
And how bad this song is.
But all I was trying to say with that joke was that, why that song? Like, if it's just about the anthem, let's just find a song everybody agrees on that's not as divisive. We all
better tune, not whack.
Yeah, and I said Bruno Mars. Like, that's one of the things we all agree on is Bruno Mars. Like,
who's more American than Bruno Mars?
Yes, like, how did I say it on stage? Like, Bruno Mars looks like every American at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that. I don't remember how I worded it. He looks like the melting pot. Like, he's a handsome, gorgeous.
Like, I aspire to Bruno Mars. I'll never get within 100 miles of it, but I would work on it if I could.
But that's what I like talking about. I like figuring out these little pockets of,
and telling someone that's not the right way to protest.
Yeah, it's not your pain.
Right.
Don't tell me how to deal with my pain. You never come home arguing with your spouse and then tell them, well, that's not how we debate. You're the one that cheated. Let them dictate how to be mad, even if it's the wrong way to start. You know, there's just this expectation of respectability politics without first acknowledging the pain that people are going through. And I think that's a lot of the issue with where we are with humor as well, and that groups are going, I need to know that you see me and see my pain first before you go running up and down the street doing jokes about me.
That is Roy Wood Jr. We are in Midtown Manhattan. Monterey Brasserie is our place. It's great to hang out with Roy, always. We did it 2 years ago on Zoom. Much, much better in person. Come back for segment 4 in just 1 second.
You know what hosting a Daily Show the first time was like? It's the scene in Finding Nemo where the shark and the blood goes up Bruce's nose. Oh, that's nice.
From CBS News, this is The Takeout with Major Garrett.
Welcome back to The Takeout. It's a great day when Roy Wood Jr. is at the table with you, so it is one great day for me. Roy, do you want to do the Daily Show?
If it's offered to me, I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to be a black person talking about America four nights a week. Plus a podcast, the Daily Show Beyond the Scenes.
That's right.
Wherever you download podcasts.
Wherever you download your podcast.
I would figure out the rest of it as I go. But I think if I didn't learn anything else from my week of guest hosting the Daily Show is that definitely it was fun to be able to do something other than what I've been doing for the last 7 years as a correspondent. So, I mean, even if I don't know which way that's going to go. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But regardless of that, I've gotten a taste of hosting. So I'm going to host something. I'm going to host something somewhere. Hope is here, but I don't know.
You have that look on your face of a child who's eating a cupcake for the first time.
Bro, you know what hosting a Daily Show the first time was like? It's the scene in Finding Nemo where the shark and the blood goes up Bruce's nose. Oh, that's nice. That was me the first time I sat in that chair. It was like that blood going up. Oh, yeah, it's like Thanos when he got that last Infinity Stone.
Yep.
So, you know, I don't know.
Nemo to Avengers Infinity Wars, ladies and gentlemen. That is rain.
Also the same company, all on Disney Plus, wherever you watch. I'd be shouting out Paramount Plus. Don't go to Disney Plus. Only choose Paramount Plus. Way better than Disney Plus, a subsidiary of CBS and Comedy Central. I don't know where late night is going.
Yeah, that's the question. So what is the Daily Show that John brought to this country's attention? Is it the same product? It doesn't occupy the same space. Our headspace is different now than it was back then.
Well, it's also more splintered now. Late night became more splintered.
Just as news is more splintered.
So much of late night is all late night satire. We're all Jon Stewart's children. I mean, and that's not a knock. It's the evolution of the craft. Like Jon Stewart, the fraternity.
He doesn't know it. I haven't brought the case for him yet, but.
But I mean, so many of the shows that have come and gone, you know, between the Sam B's and Wyatt Cenac Problem Areas and John Oliver's, even the way that Seth Meyers does his first segment in late night, to the way we've evolved, it's all splintered off of that. Even Jon Stewart's new show, The Problem with Jon Stewart, is a child of Jon Stewart. Right. So you look at that, and then you also look at the cancellations.
Yeah.
And where TV is starting to, from what I can tell, there is a creative contraction happening. And from that will be a new expansion. But for now, things are getting
very
more
tight
and more
belts.
finite.
Very tight belts.
Sam B's gone. Z-Way's gone. Sam J and what she was doing over at HBO with Pause, that's gone. So you look at fewer and fewer shows that if there's still shows left and you have an opportunity to say stuff, it becomes even more important because there's less outlets now. To me...
Back to where we started, fear.
Yeah.
Seriously.
To me, the biggest thing with the evolution of political satire which is to satirize the news, is to also see, in my opinion, how where people get their news has evolved, and what are the ways to satirize that.
Yeah.
Because everybody who watches the news and everybody who gets the news, they don't get it from a shiny desk in Lester Holt anymore, and that's just metrics.
Right.
I don't say that in disrespect.
No,
to
of course
evening
not. We all know
news.
that. We all know that.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, John Muir is doing a great job.
Yeah.
Like, people are killing it on with their respective outlets. But
the audience is so much smaller, fractionally as large as it was in the glory days.
they
of the
just
60s
relocated.
and 70s.
It's schools of fish.
Yeah.
The fish are still in the ocean. You just have to see where they moved. I went fishing with my brother in Birmingham, and so now I think I know fish. He has one of those sonar things. Oh, the catfish was here yesterday. Tomorrow they're over here. So you just have to keep kind of. It's the same thing with big Alaskan fishermen off the Bering Strait. Like, it's all. Where did the people go? They didn't die?
No. But there are, I would say, smaller schools, and they are in more rigid swimming patterns.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. Oh, it's very compartmentalized. It's very divisive now. I only want my news from right here. There used to be a little bit more cross-pollination, so you could catch more fish of differing political views with the same type of program. But I still think there is a way for shows like The Daily Show to still have a place within the political conversation that honors everything that's happening now, not only in what the divisiveness is, but also where people get their news. Because I think the trick to political satire has always been having an opinion about issues or people that have an opinion.
Right.
You know, like, oh, that's Fox News, that's what I watch. That's he's my guy.
Right.
Oh, wait, he said something about my guy? Let me see what he said about my guy. That's kind of what the James Carville, Tucker Carlson, early era CNN Crossfire stuff was. And when you look at everything, like when you talk about Jon Stewart and everybody he was taking down, it was because it was people that other people cared about. So,
baseline question, is liberal hypocrisy as funny as conservative hypocrisy?
not the liberals.
No.
Liberals don't like it at all. Oh, they don't like it. And they will stare at you. Let me tell you, ain't nothing scarier than bombing in front of liberals. I've tried to tell some hypocrisy jokes out there in Brooklyn. Not feeling it. Not a fan.
No. Daggers, lots of daggers.
But it don't change the truth.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as a comedian,
And your job is to
it's
find
your
that
job.
truth wherever it is.
Your
And you don't
job
care,
is to
do you?
No, I can't.
Liberal conservative.
I cannot, as a comedian, come into any situation prepared to do anything other than tell the truth and call out the BS I see. You can love me, and you can hate me. It is what it is. I might go up at the Correspondents Dinner and have whatever anybody considers to be a great set, or it might be like Stephen Colbert, where people go, oh, that was not, how dare you.
How dare you.
And then years later they go, oh, wait a minute, that was funny, that was
wow,
good.
that was like money.
That was amazing.
Yeah. That set grew in its significance and its landing, but it took years.
Because he didn't waver from what he wanted to do and what he had to say, because he knew it was the truth. The truth moved slow, but it moved. So you have to stay on. You have to honor that, and anything else that comes on the other side of that, you can't be concerned with.
So when you walk off, or when you sit back down at that podium, at that Correspondents Dinner, you're going to be good either way.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good.
I'm good. I've done what I was supposed to do, which was speak on this country and what's going on. I have a rare opportunity that most voters don't have, and that's to be face-to-face with all of their elected officials. And the officials have to shut up.
And listen.
That's the beautiful thing. It's a bunch of politicians with no microphone. When you see that.
It is a beautiful thing. Trust me. I've been around too many microphones.
I don't know.
Man, Roy
We'll
Wood
see
Jr., what a great hangout this was. We've
I
got
just
one
got to
more
make
segment.
sure that
The Takeout Outtake Especial, hang around for that. But Roy, thanks, man.
hopefully Marjorie Taylor Greene don't heckle me.
We will end on that, folks.
I
See you
might
next
cuss
week.
on C-SPAN if she do. I still have to do jokes that are fresh and tonally, that reflect the moment we're in.
Yep.
Not the times we're in, the moment that week.
From CBS News, this is The Takeout with Major Garrett.
Welcome to your Takeout Outtake Especial. Monterey Brasserie is our location, Midtown Manhattan, 50th Street, right between Madison and Park. Very high-tone neighborhood, not the kind of place I typically hang out in, but that's where we are. Roy Wood Jr. is our special guest. Roy,
Yes, sir.
Great to have you with us. I want to ask you about the way people feel about politics. If I could tell people who get so revved up, liberal or conservative, one thing I would say, these people that you are getting all revved up in defense of or against are not worth all your emotional energy.
No.
They are not. They are political actors doing political things, and 25 years ago we let them sort of do their political things. We'd dip in and dip out, but we would not rage farm ourselves and devote ourselves so emotionally to their fate. They are not worth all your energy.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
1000% agree. It's actually like part of a space where I'm trying to get to and still figuring out all the pieces for the Correspondents Dinner. But the idea of being so blindly loyal to a person and not the ideal is just odd to me. Like, that's just, it's odd. It's odd that you would drive to New York City and stand in front of a courthouse to support a former president who's accused of whatever he's accused of. What does that, just vote for him? That was the deal. It was just, I like you, I voted. You didn't have to buy a shirt. You didn't have to get suckered into merch to let everybody else know where you stand.
Or go on camera and say he's like Nelson Mandela or Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. And then who was it? Somebody else said he was like Tupac and Biggie.
Well, would you care to opine on that?
Well, he's nothing like Biggie because, one, he's alive. So let's start there. Two, you're not nearly as loved as Biggie.
You have people who love you, no doubt.
Yeah,
but not as many.
People that love you, but not like they love Biggie. If Trump, Biggie, and Tupac was drowning, who you think black people reaching in? Come on now. At least I know Biggie's got money for real.
Biggie
Biggie ain't never scammed the people.
No.
Hey,
no bankruptcy filings for Biggie.
We've gotten to a place in politics where people support the person instead of the policy. And you start supporting people blindly because of the person and not looking at their policy and don't realize that a lot of that stuff you're spiting yourself. I don't even think politicians should be able to run by name and face.
Just by ideas.
Just by ideas. You shouldn't even see them.
So
you shouldn't even.
There was an experiment a couple of pollsters did near the end of the Obama presidency in which they would just give ideas and not names to voters. And Republicans would identify and support Obama policies so long as they didn't know it was an Obama policy.
Correct.
And sometimes liberals or Democrats would support center-right or conservative policies as long as they didn't know whose names were attached to it.
People are so entrenched in supporting party over policy that it makes no sense. I still think one of the biggest mistakes Barack Obama made was calling it Obamacare. Should just called it Republican care. And half of the dummies that vote every year would have voted yes on Republican care because the algorithm's not showing them all the truth anyway.
No.
Just I'd have called it. If I was Biden right now, I would pass Trump care. So what if it's named after him? Did you help the people?
Right. Yeah.
Everybody wants credit and a high five. You know, Tim Scott, Republican, had what I consider to be a fairly decent police reform bill. I know there were a couple of hiccups in it, but Democrats filibustered it.
Right, totally.
So now we have no police reform
None
whatsoever.
at all. Right.
Because you proposed it and I didn't propose it and I want my bill to be the one that you like. You like my bill.
Right.
I don't like your bill. You have to like my bill because I'm trying to get reelected in a year and a half.
And I want to go down in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this idea of just naming policies after yourself is already.
So will you watch other
Reaganomics.
correspondents who did the dinner? I mean, other comedic oh Jesus! Will you watch other sets at the Correspondents Dinner to prepare?
Will I? I've already done that.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I've repeatedly.
Okay.
I've watched them repeatedly.
Right. All right.
Like, just again and again. Hassan Minhaj, Michelle Wolf, Wanda Sykes,
Yeah.
Larry Wilmore. Like, I've watched them all and just seeing tonally what it was. But it's hard, you know. I still have to do jokes that are fresh and tonally that reflect the moment we're in.
Yep.
Not the times we're in, the moment that week or that night even.
Right.
God forbid there's a shooting the day before or something weird
Yeah.
that changes the tone of things.
Right.
So I have to be cognizant of that. So it's hard to really look at old sets as a be-all, end-all approach. It's not like doing Letterman, you know, where you do Jimmy Fallon or some late-night show and you go, okay, that comic started out slow, then ramped up, and the crowd was where the crowd is a constant. Like when you're doing a traditional comedy show, the crowd is not, the mood of the audience is not the variable.
No.
It's how you present yourself to that audience that is always static and essentially the same thing. The Correspondents Dinner, the tone of the audience changes.
Yep.
If Biden doesn't laugh first, will they not laugh?
Right.
Who knows? Like, put the jokes in the wrong order. It could kill the next 4 jokes.
Yep. Yep. Right.
Because I didn't do a joke that makes you laugh, so now, oh, I made you mad, so now you're not going to laugh at my next 3 jokes in retaliation. But if I make you laugh first, so it's
Yeah. Right.
it's all of these
But-
if and only if variables, man.
As George Carlin said, whenever he would do stand up, I'm here for me, you're here for me, so we're all here for me. Roy Wood Jr., thanks for hanging out. It's been
Thank you,
great.
Major.
And good luck.
Yes, appreciate it.
That's your Takeout Outtake Especial, folks. We'll see you next week.